Welcome to the HR Data Labs podcast, now part of the Work-Defined Podcast Network. Join us as we explore the vital role of compensation, strategy, data, and people analytics in navigating today's complex business world. With the resources of Work-Defined, we're now bringing you deeper insights and actionable ideas from top experts. Now, here is your host, David Turetsky. I am your host, David Turetsky, and like always, we bring you the biggest, brightest, most wonderful people inside and outside the world of HR. Today we have with us our BFF, Carlee Wolfe from Hyatt Hotels. Carlee Wolfe, how are you?
I'm excellent. Thank you for having me. I love the intro from David to David, but also there's like a seriousness of welcome to the chat. Even though we're serious but not serious,
Oh, not serious.
there's just a vibe. There's a very we're gonna learn some stuff today vibe.
Oh, we are. We are. And before we get to that stuff, Carlee, for those people who don't know the wonderfulness that is Carlee Wolfe, can you give a little bit about who you are and what you do at Hyatt?
I certainly can. So I've been with Hyatt for about 5.5 years. I currently lead our talent and org effectiveness group. So for us, that's TA ops, leadership development, performance management, colleague listening, and our opportunity youth programs. And we serve our global hotels. And for fun folks not familiar with, I'm sure everyone knows Hyatt, or I hope they do. But fun fact about our industry is a lot of hotels are franchise. For us, that's about 50-50. 50% is franchise, which means our work impacts about 110,000 people around the world.
So a couple people.
Yeah, just a couple people. I want to make sure that everyone knew that that was only half, because that's just like a small amount.
Wow.
But also, I like talking about the industry because I'm always learning something new. It's like a fascinating.
It's an amazing industry. It's frontline workers. It's people who affect the lives of people, not just who are traveling, but living. So it's an amazing opportunity to understand the human condition. And it's a slice of the world we live.
For sure. My most interesting fact that I learned and most favorite fact that I learned both sit in those camps. My favorite fact is you mentioned just in general, people in society and life. I'm very broad, but my interpretation of that is what I love about the industry is the hotel's ability to impact and be a part of community.
Right.
And I mean that both in an operational sense of, well, what's the like art in the hotel,
Right.
to how do you engage? So like community development, also things like at the government level, how are you bringing in events to cities, right? All these things.
Sure.
And then my most interesting learned fact, and I think is what drives or continues to have me love the space, is I think about hotels as travel, which it is. Obviously, people are traveling. But when I was visiting a hotel when I first started, the GM said something very powerful, which is what you have to remember is that everything that happens in someone's life happens in a hotel. Marriage, death, illness, tragedy, engagement, work. I just got to get away for the weekend. I'm here for work. All of those things happen within the context of a hotel. And so when you think about servicing that, it's quite diverse and important, as you said. So those are.
And you and I we've both been to conferences that take place in hotels so there's a lot of education that goes on in hotels, entertainment that goes on in hotels, whether it's comedy clubs or whether it's a bar or whether it's restaurants. Those are all entertainment, but also, they're venues, right? There's lots of things that happen, like you mentioned, births, deaths, yeah.
Sleep,
and I was also thinking about, huh?
I said sleep, toothbrushing, the other part of the whole thing.
Laundry. But I was also thinking about the fact that hotels are major employers, and there are a lot of people who make their living, not just going to hotels, but being at hotels and actually working in hotels. So it serves the local market and serves the local community. Oh, also they buy a lot of local foods and produce, I imagine, as well for the restaurants and the food services. So there's just a lot that happens when a hotel comes to a community.
Exactly. Here's your other fun fact. So Hyatt's headquartered in Chicago. I don't know why we're like, usually I'm not on like a big Hyatt kick, but today we are. We're on like hospitality.
#Hyatt.
Reflections. But I love this other one. So in Chicago, which is where our headquarters is, and that's where I'm originally from. So let's like tie in a personal point to this. One of our large Hyatt Regencies is there, and it is the only kosher hotel that you can have in the city. So if for those that don't know Chicago, there's what makes the city very clean is that when Now we're getting to Chicago. So very quickly, the whole city burnt down from the Great Fire.
Yeah.
When it rebuilt, they built like a very intentional structure. And part of that included having streets and infrastructure underneath the city.
Hmm.
And so Hyatt Regency has layers, like 5, 6, 8 layers underneath it. And in one of the floors, so it's a whole dedicated floor, everything is kosher.
Wow.
All of the equipment, which it has to be, right? Equipment,
Yeah.
storage, rabbi comes in performs the service there.
Tuition,
And so if you have a large family and you want a kosher wedding, that's the spot.
bar
So
mitzvahs, births, deaths, the
exactly,
whole
all
thing,
the whole thing. So
circumcision.
that's just an
Well,
example to your
and I'm a
point.
kosher. I'm kosher, so that would be perfect. I'll stay at
There
the
you
Hyatt
go.
next time.
There you go. So
In fact,
yes,
I actually think I did because one Passover I had to be in Chicago for the HR technology show, and I think I stayed at the Hyatt because they actually had kosher meals, kosher Passover meal. So there you go.
there you go. There you go.
Thank you. Thank you. Fun
Yeah,
fact.
there's another example.
Fun fact about Hyatt, but not fun fact about Carlee Wolfe. So we actually have to do the what's one fun thing that no one knows about Carlee Wolfe again. Even though
Uh-oh.
Carlee's been on the program, she probably gets her jacket, her golden jacket for being on the program for as many times as like Jerry Seinfeld or somebody has hosted. Alec Baldwin has hosted Saturday Night Live.
Well, I need, yeah.
Got to
I
get
was
you a
imagining
jacket.
what that what a HR jacket would look like for times on a podcast. I'd probably
I
top.
could probably just send you one of these because I
I
have
love a
tons of these.
hoodie. I love a hoodie.
Okay, yeah, I'll
Okay,
see.
fun fact. Fun
Yeah.
fact. I don't know. I'll just share one that recently came up because we just did this team exercise. I've been both skydiving and bungee jumping, but I don't think I need to do it again. But someone, we were playing this game where you were trying to guess who it was. So you wrote like 3 things that people didn't know and they were guessing, but you couldn't ask like a word that sat in there. So like you couldn't have asked me like bungee or jump. So the person came up to me and said, "Do you have a passion for extreme sports?" And
Ooh,
I was like as a hobby, like in life, what are we talking about? And I knew what she was asking me, but I was just being that person. I was like, nope, no
that
hobby.
person.
I think just young and adventurous would have been my answer in that case. But that's those are 2 fun facts.
Wow. Wow.
I've
So
jumped
please stay
to
on the ground, please.
perceived. Well, now I am because I'm older and have more
Yeah.
fears
And smarter.
and smarter and smarter. Because yeah, I just saw. I forgot where it was. A bungee related incident happened at a park somewhere where it like flew off the side. And I'm like, I'm good. I'm good.
Remember my friend Dwight, my
Mm,
BFF. Yeah,
yes, awesome.
he loves jumping off of cliffs with a thing, and I hated it
Like a
every time
hang
he told me
glider
he did.
type
Yeah,
situation
like a paragliding thing.
or paraglider. Okay.
Yeah, please
I
don't.
don't know how he does that. I have a friend that cliff jump dives. I don't know.
Yeah,
His
I don't like it either. But I'm a goalie, so what do I have to say? I have pucks shooting at my head at 100 miles an hour. So
Oh, that's scary too.
yeah, that's my goalie helmet right there.
Oh, cool. Very
There's one
cool.
of them. I have 2 right there. But anyways,
Hmm.
so that's good. We like that. So now we know much more about Carlee Wolfe and the Hyatt Company.
And you. We just learned about goaling.
Everybody knows I'm a goalie. I think I've mentioned on this show like a million times, and people are like,
Uh, well,
please don't mention that you're a
you have
goalie
new
again."
people all the time. New people all the
Maybe
time
I do. That's
for your new
true. That's
listeners.
true. For
And
those
we get
brand
fun
new
facts about
listeners,
Chicago today too.
yes, we did. We learned a lot, and we
Hmm.
haven't even really gotten started.
I was just
We're 9 minutes in, and we really haven't gotten started yet.
thinking that. Yeah.
So the topic for today about that is things on Carlee's mind for 2026. And, when we were talking about this program, we tried to come up with different topics, but the one thing kept coming back to the things that was shocking Carlee for 2026. So after the bump, we're going to get into it.
I want to take a break real quick just to let you know about a new show we've just added to the network. Up Next at Work, hosted by Gene and Kata Keel of the Devon Group. Fantastic show. If you're looking for something that pushes the norm, pushes the boundaries, has some really spirited conversations, Google Up Next at Work, Gene and Kata Keel from the Devon Group.
So getting back into it, the first question that we have to ask Carlee is, what's on your mind? What has been rattling around up in that brilliant space between your ears that has just been driving you a little mad?
Oh, driving me a little mad. I think it's, one thing that is always rattling around in my head is kind of like this. I'm going to use the statement broad future of work. What's happening with AI and
Right.
disruption, and where is HR going with all of this? And I think that recently, um, I've been. I'm not saying this is like a large theme or the thing, because also this is from one person's perspective. But what I've heard a few instances of is putting already putting containers around AI to that like prevent, and I use the term AI broadly. So like let's just use something simple like an LLM, like a ChatGPT or Copilot or Claude. Putting guardrails around it or containers that prevent people to have access or ability to use when it could one be really helpful in their job, or perception of, I don't know if this is like legacy work thinking, our own
Sure.
control, but the idea of like I think like applying for jobs. I've heard this a bunch of times where people are just really frustrated at people using AI to apply for jobs, and I don't understand why that's frustration for
Well,
people in HR.
yeah.
Yeah,
Why don't we go through one first? Because I
yeah.
think
Let's do
it's
one, but
really,
those are like two. Yeah, let's do it.
yeah.
Where do you want to go?
I
One.
love the conversation about guardrails, because one of the bigger problems I think that I have with it, guardrails of using artificial intelligence at work, is that it's kind of like when Steve Jobs first brought out the iPad and said, here's an iPad, here's a tablet. Now, tablets weren't new at the time, but, the criticisms were, well, it's just a big phone.
Yeah,
And some of the criticisms coming from shareholders were, why did you do this? Everybody's doing it. There's nothing new about this. And they said, what's the use of it? And he said, I don't want to figure that out. I want the user to figure that out. So, in the context of what you're mentioning about guardrails and putting up guardrails on people's use of AI, why would you do that if we haven't even seen or scratched the surface of what people might be able to use it for, other
yeah,
than just a replacement for certain work streams?
yeah.
Why would you do that?
I don't know. I mean, the two things I hear are one, cost, because if we first of all take something away, it costs less for us. In theory, right? Literally from the
Hmm.
easy, oh, I used to
Sure.
pay $1,000 for this and now I don't. And misunderstanding of what we label as performance. Like those are the two things I've been hearing.
Yeah.
And I also want to also like, because I think you and I maybe are in an assumed space for this, because what I want to share is I also don't, I think guardrails, because it could be used in a lot of ways. I think it's
Mhm.
important for things like privacy,
Sure.
like not like thinking about good data, how we're consuming,
Right.
ethics, all of those things. I think those
Of
all
course.
require guardrails. What we're talking about is, as I'll use an example that someone gave, which is, oh, we're measuring performance based on AI adoption and usage. And if people aren't keeping up with that, we're thinking they're not really performing that well, and so we turn their access off. And I'm like, well, to your point, why would we do that? And that to me is a big number one misconception of what do you when you say performance, what are you even talking about? If you're just talking about how many times they opened it or how often,
Right.
how long it's open, what if they're just really good and they can get stuff done in 10 minutes and someone else takes 20? Is that what you're saying is
Right.
better performance? I don't know. But what I do know is by turning it off and not letting them use it, they're certainly not going to be able to keep up with what is performing.
Or Or they're going to just find a different tool. They're going to use a consumer base. And what does that mean? That means they're going to be dumping your intellectual property into a potentially public space
Yes,
where better you understand what they're doing, leave it on, versus having them go and say, well, I found a tool that I like. It's not yours. And I don't have guardrails on it, so I can do whatever I want in it. That's not good.
for sure. And you're highlighting something I've found fascinating that I have thought about for myself, just that point, because there's a lot of commercial tools that I use personally that we don't have access to at work. And I don't cross over. Like I do try
Yeah.
to I do have the wall. I understand it. But if someone looked at my AI usage and depth at work, it would not be the same as if you looked at it my whole life. So one, I think we're assuming a lot of things about what in quote performance is or what impact is. That's just an example. But I also think it's still this early stage of we're in adoption mindset, which is did someone log in and is someone using it versus what are we gaining from that usage? How do we help people continue to learn and feel comfortable and use it for what they need? So there's a
Mhm.
lot underneath there that's assumed that by taking away, to your point, there's risk of people using things outside. By taking away, we're also if they're not going outside and they're just not, then they're probably not performing as fast as everyone else because literally you've maybe taken an
Right.
accelerator away. But
Right.
the other thing, and I've been very passionate about this since the beginning, which is access is the root of like being able to move forward. If you don't have access to something, you are inherently behind. And why would we want limit access when we're really to your point, we're just beginning. Why would you want to create that gate? Basically that has, impact in many, many ways down the road too.
I think there's another problem with it, which is that if you haven't trained them, and this is your area, right? If you haven't given them
Yeah.
the skills necessary to be able to really take advantage of those tools, how are you going to expect them to be able to really be able to play the system to its advantage? Or are you expecting them to DIY? And then, I mean,
Yeah.
there are different levels of aptitude on computers, much less on AI, especially nowadays. You can go and take those courses on Google, from prompt engineering and whatnot, or on prompt engineering and whatnot. Different people will be able to react differently to those trainings. You have to find the right training for the people for the
Yeah.
right way. And so I guess my point, Carlee, is if you're giving it out to people, don't treat it like it's so damn obvious that everybody will just get it. Give
Yeah.
them the tools to be able to use the tools that you're giving them because it's expensive and it's not a good idea to just throw it out there and go figure it out yourself. That's just not a good use of time.
For sure. For sure. I have been using this metaphor for a little bit now, which is put yourself in like a large gym, and I call it back of the gym mentality. And so like when you walk in the gym, the first thing you see are the machines, right? Stationary
Hmm.
bike, stationary bicep, whatever it is. Right now we're in the sort of assumptive space around AI, which is like we implemented the biceps, and so now people are going to do biceps, which is fine. It's something, but what most of us tend to avoid is the back of the gym. Like the people in the back, they're like climbing on the wall and doing the jump ropes on the
Yeah.
slack line, and they're like
Right.
cartwheels, and you're like, what's happening? Although you look very fit, and I would never climb a wall, but it looks sort of interesting and fun, but not today. Also, I don't know what I'm doing. We organizations but that's what AI is. You have a back of the gym, you
Yep.
have these tools, you have a wall and you have a jump rope and you have these bands, but it's not linear, it's not the machine. It's not sitting
Hmm.
down and it's one solution. You're like, okay, what do I want to work on mobility. How do I do that with the tools that
Right.
I have in front of me? So when we start organizations need to be able to build the culture around have someone in the back of the gym come over and be like, hey Carlee, let me
Oh
show you
yeah.
the jump rope. Or Carlee, you did a really good job just even like exploring the medicine balls today. You didn't touch them, but you were out there. Great job.
Right.
Or you watch this, you join us for the 30-minute intro to the back of the gym class and we got you going and now you're doing that at home. And you don't need to be climbing the wall yet. Like you could just pick this up. We're all
Right.
good.
Right.
This is metaphorically training, reward
Right.
system, capacity. So how do we do that versus what we started with, which is putting it in containers. So what we've said is because you haven't approached the back of the gym or perception that you're not in the back of the gym, we're going to drop this giant clear wall over the back of the gym, which means you can't get to it. You can kind of see what's going on over there. And by the way, we've like maybe left you with your stationary bike, but no one's in the front of the gym anymore. And you're like, what am I doing here? This is sad. So
Well,
it's the whole,
I love your metaphor. I think it's a wonderful metaphor, and I'll throw a different one in. There's
yeah,
also a difference between ibex bikes and pick another bike. I don't know, but there's lots of different types of bikes. So
yeah,
Claude is different than Perplexity, which is different than ChatGPT, which is
totally.
different than MLs and other things. So if you're getting access to the gym and you see all these different machines, but and some of them might actually be in the same row and they might do something similar, there may be differences between how each one actually acts. So the concept of if you learn one bike, you've learned them all is not exactly true. And so even if you, whether it's hiring, whether it's training, whatever, even if you believe that someone's got all the skills, they don't. This is such a new area.
Yeah.
Don't assume, because we know what happens when we do that.
Yes. Yes.
And that gets to your other question, because I think we've knocked this one down a little bit. Let's talk about the other question that you had when we first started talking about this, which is the concept of the hiring and the expectation that people either are or aren't using artificial intelligence in the hiring process. Because we've kind of set the expectation that if you ain't using, you're losing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the system has been in place for a long time. Everybody's wondering, like,
Mm-hmm.
how, well, first of all, it's a frustrating experience, but also then there's how do I beat the ATS?
Right.
It's just
Or
what
at
we've,
least the AI in the ATS.
and now all of it, right? So that's like the first 18, all of it cooked in. And I find it so fascinating that people get upset about people who are uh, applicants that are applying that use AI, and they're like, I like filter it as a sense of character, and I'm like, what do you mean? Like, what? I understand if they have submitted a resume that is a lie, like that is a sense of character. They didn't review what they're submitting, or
Right.
maybe they did and they're like, this is so good. Even I applied to be a marketing manager, but I've sold myself as a vice president of marketing, even though I've been doing, I don't know, HR my whole career. Like that, I get
Right.
that. But just pure play, I'm qualified. This is who I am, what I've been doing, and I use tools to help me craft it in a way that I could AI, which is algorithms and keywords,
Right.
which drives the algorithms. Like, why wouldn't, why? Why put that a
Yeah.
barrier or over assumption that someone's unethical because they use a tool to get through the tool? Because then you're not even
Yeah.
talking to them if they didn't use the tool to get through the tool.
Exactly. What don't you remember, and I remember this very clearly, which is when AI first started really making its appearance, the place that it made it the most is in education. And
Mm,
especially in secondary higher ed, there was a lot of talk from teachers as well as from students that in order to be able to get optimum grades, you really need to use, the tools that are available. And they were using artificial intelligence to, try and simplify their lives. Well, I think there was that pushback initially of that's cheating. And I had conversations a long time ago, maybe 4 years ago, with educators who said, yeah, that's cheating. And there are standards and we have to, enforce standards and whatnot. Those aren't available. I mean, those aren't around today. We're not talking about that in the cheating way. Do you think this is just another way for us to point to it and go, well, they're cheating? It's the same kind of educational paradigm?
I think so. I think at the root of it, a lot of it's like misunderstanding and miseducation about what the tools are or why the tools exist and how we can work with them versus trying to fight against them. I think it's the same thing like
Yeah.
as an employer or an HR. Why are we upset about applicants? Well, maybe we should start to understand that more so that we can solve for it. But same thing with education. Maybe it's a lack of understanding. Certainly in education, there is a very high standard of your work, your originality, your
Right.
rigor.
Is your work.
First of all, that model has been challenged for years. I used to actually work for Apollo Group, which on University of Phoenix was which one of the first online institutions. Actually, was the first online institution. And when that started, got so much slack. Like, is this education? Could people
Yeah.
even learn this way?
Right.
And think of what that did, because the reason why it existed was for working adults, people who wanted to pivot from one
Yeah.
career to the next.
Right.
Why are we upset about it? But why are we wanting to put a box around it? People want to get jobs. So
Right.
same thing,
Well, then the
academics.
pandemic changed that, didn't it?
Oh yeah, oh for sure, and even yes, and
Yeah.
now we're even in a different stage. I think tech changed a lot of this because Google was
Yeah.
like, why would we go to a brick and mortar when tech's
Right.
moving faster than that? So yes, I think it's very similar, and I think it's the question is how do you use it as a tool? Teach people to use it as a tool, number one, and number two, also, I think, because we're talking about this very interesting topic, education is a pipeline into jobs. Like it's a big pipeline system.
Sure.
And so, why would we want to limit the skill set, confidence, and mindset of using the tools that will exist when we go to work? So, I think that's
Exactly.
another reason.
Exactly, Carlee. Because if you want people to have those tools and to utilize those tools, why would you have this fake, what's the word, disgust that they use the tools that you're hoping they use when they're productive in the role? Why would you have that discussed? And why wouldn't you have the embracing of it? Because if we embrace it during the hiring process, don't we think that's exactly what we want to try and achieve throughout the rest of their careers with us? Because
Yes.
if you say, well, you can't use it during the hiring process, but we really want you to use it during the rest of your existence, what kind of precedent are we setting there?
Yeah. Yes. I agree. And I was just, as you were going through, I was just thinking too of, I think this is both of the examples we're bringing up are also examples where I think that, we're talking about like what's changing in jobs, what's changing in education, and what comes
Right.
next. I think these are the questions that come next. So, for example, let's go back to academics.
Yeah.
Right. At one point, you were teaching people how do you do research and how do you name
Right.
references? Because even when you did references before, as you do today, you had to double check your references. This book may not
Absolutely.
be super accurate because you got to back it. Same things, right? With AI, you're like using as maybe a backbone to expand your thinking. Got to check your facts. You got to reference all of the above.
Right.
So we're just teaching using a new tool with that mentality. The other thing I hear a lot, and I'd be curious if you've had, which is like writing itself, whether it's like
Mm.
typing handwritten, although at this generation probably not handwritten, it's typing. So then the question becomes, and this I think is fair, is well, there's sort of like a mental development or like expansion of like you're using your hands and you're thinking in a way that also just is good vitality for yourself, for your
Hmm.
body. And so then if that's where educators are saying, well, like we need to keep them on their toes, keep them healthy. I think the question is, what else should we be doing to also facilitate and move that muscle? So back to your gym, like we need to get,
Right.
you're right. Maybe we need to get on a different bike, but is the bike the problem here? Like, is this what are we really trying to say you can't use AI to help write things? Or or are there just other ways we need to solve some of the now impacts that AI is by using the tool facilitates?
Yeah. I like to come back to the example or the argument that why do you care how they get to the end as long as the end result is good? And as long as the end result solves the problem, why do you give a crap? Why judge them? Or is it a case of, I don't want to say holier than thou, but is it a case of we have to care about how you get there and we have to judge the case on its merits? Because if we allow them to just do whatever they want, we're setting up the wrong expectations for their working with us. I want to thank Carlee Wolfe for joining the HR Data Labs podcast again. And this has been a really fun episode, but we'll have to pick this up in the next conversation with Carlee Wolfe. Thank you, take care, and stay safe. Thank you for listening to the HR Data Labs podcast. Don't forget to hit subscribe and share it with your network. You can also check out the recordings on Spotify or the HR channel, now on Roku and Fire TV. Thank you, take care, and stay safe.